Good day, everyone. This is Carl Jason Misanes, the last reporter of Group 2. Our topic is taken from the book written by Alicia R. Crone and Alexander Cuenca, Rethinking Social Studies Teacher Education in the 21st Century. Our discussion revolves on Chapter 6, or my discussion will be on Chapter 6. Previous reporter talked about literacies required of a global conscious citizen. He mentioned 7 types of literacies, namely digital literacy, cultural literacy, civic literacy, critical literacy, collaborative literacy, problem-solving literacy, and literacies in action. The literacies in action will be discussed by me later on the later part of this discussion. All right, so again, I am your reporter from Bachelor of Social Studies Education 3 of Philippine Normal University, Mindanao. Chapter 6, Rooting the Literacies of Citizenship, Ideas that Integrate Social Studies and Language Arts in the Cultivation of a New Global Mindset by Debby Shulsky and Elaine Y. Hendrix. Before we dive into our topic for this day, I would like to ask you some questions that will be answered along our discussion. What are the 4 habits of mind? How does these 4 habits of mind work? And how does the 4 habits of mind benefit teachers teaching social studies? And the literacies and the 4 habits of mind, the relationship of these two, how will it benefit pre-service teachers or would-be social studies teachers? Okay. Now, the roots, the 4 habits of mind. So, what are the 4 habits of mind? We have number 1, awakenedness. Second is broad-mindedness. Third is innate contemplation. And the fourth one is critical conviction. What is awakenedness? Heightened sense of consciousness that illuminates the existence and complexities of the interconnections across cultural boundaries and actions that impact the common good. All right. From the word itself, consciousness, okay, existence and complexities. Would-be teachers or pre-service teachers like us must be aware of the situation that is going on around us, the scenario that we are in, the community that we belong, the events that is present in the community where we belong, the problems that we have in our community. Okay, so these are what awakenedness means. No, these are the ideas that underlie awakenedness, no, the concept of awakenedness as the first habit of mind. Okay, so as a would-be teacher, remember we need to be aware of the problems that we might encounter in our class, in our future social studies classroom. Aside from that, or after having this kind of mind or habit, we have this second one, which is the broad-mindedness, willingness to see and hear ideas removed from one's personal paradigm. Now, we cannot take away the fact that there are teachers, no, in the field that are very much into their personal biases when it comes to the culture, their culture, and the culture of some of their students. Part of it is the gender identity and gender expression of their students. Okay, as a would-be teacher, as a pre-service teacher, we must understand that there are limits, there are boundaries. Okay, there are boundaries of our beliefs, of our principles in life. Okay, we need to set these boundaries and be open to the ideas of other people, to the ideas of your students, to how they express themselves, to also be open with the ideas of your colleagues. Say, for example, you have seen this problem in your classroom, no? That there is a discrimination between the LGBT student of yours and the majority of your class, which happens to be homophobic. That does not mean that you have to side with the majority, okay? Because you have to take into consideration the student of yours that is a member of the LGBT community. Yes, you might not be in accord with the belief of this particular marginalized student of yours, but you have to reject your bias as to your religious beliefs, as to your principles in life, in order to um, be fair with your students, not just with the majority, but also to be fair with the person being discriminated, because you know the boundaries of your culture. And so you have to um, adopt a strategy or a method on how to address this problem, okay, inside the classroom. And through broad-mindedness as a habit of your mind, you will be able to listen to different ideas from your colleagues, from your friends, from your student as well. You will be open to hear him or her, okay, to hear his or her side, why it happened, why she should not be punished, or why she should not be condemned of something that she did, which actually she did not. Okay. After that, after having different or hearing different ideas, okay, after gaining different ideas, here comes the third habit of mind, which is the innate contemplation. Deep reflection as a natural or initial instinct. The innate contemplation or reflection requires the teacher to think deeply of how, or of the solution that was developed, no? The solution that was developed upon hearing different ideas, upon hearing opinions from his or her colleagues and from the students. Here in this section, innate contemplation or reflection, it is within the teacher, wherein he or she have to weigh in things before we go to the fourth habit of mind, which is the critical conviction, the deep-seated belief that is open to analytical exploration and possible evolution. This habit serves as the oxygen of the course and is basis of learning. I personally think that after the contemplation that you have, then you have to decide. No, the critical conviction is the decision making part, where you have to decide whether to implement or not the solution that you thought, no, during your contemplation and during the listening period, no, that you had with the different people, okay, in your environment, in your work environment, in the classroom. So you have to decide. And this time, analytical exploration, meaning in upon or in implementing the said solution, you still have to explore. You still have to um, monitor, no? You still have to monitor the flow of the solution or the strategy that you did in order to address the problem. Okay? And there is a possible evolution. Okay? Because as mentioned, this is a basis of learning. After the implementation of the solution that you have to solve the problem inside your classroom, you still have to evaluate. Okay, you have to evaluate, and then after evaluation, you have to think again or try to contemplate again, no, on what to do, no, whether to add, to innovate, to improve the method, or to retain the method if it is very effective. Okay? to add if it is necessary, or to remove something if it is necessary as well. So these are the 4 habits of mind. Again, awakenedness, broad-mindedness, innate contemplation, and critical conviction. These um, habits of mind is actually necessary, very necessary to develop a person or a student to become uh, a 21st century learner who is global citizen. Okay, a global citizen to become globally competitive, both in different arenas: politics, education, economics, whatsoever. Okay. Now, there is also an idea presented by the author. It takes a village integration in the elementary classroom. The literacies required of global citizenship do not exist in a vacuum. The 7 literacies presented by the previous reporter does not exist in a vacuum. Okay, so that just simply means that we cannot just simply get it in just a certain area, no, a specific environment or a specific area. In just one grasp, makukuha na natin lahat. No. This practice causes the need to merge the essence of social studies content throughout other subject areas to ensure the presence of the knowledge, skills, and convictions of a critically literate individual. To be able to develop 21st century learners to become global citizens and to become competitive in the global arena, we do not just depend much on social studies content, because we know that social studies is a restricted curriculum, a marginalized subject area. We have to integrate social studies in different subject areas, or we have to integrate different subject areas into social studies subject area, okay, to be able to develop knowledge on the content, understanding, skills, and conviction of critically literate individual. As a continuation of the previous slide, the marriage between social studies and language arts, for example, is a natural one as it provides rich opportunities for critical connection building in young children. That is according to Agarwal, Rangnat 2013, Melber and Hunter of 2010. This marriage between social studies and language arts is just an example of merging social studies with other subject areas. And if this marriage or the merging of 2 subject areas, we call it double blocked method class. That's how the author described the merging of 2 subject areas, no, merging of social studies with a different subject area. That will result to, number 1, learning experiences that more meaningfully reflect the interrelated nature of the real world, because we are given another perspective through our experience with the with the other subject area, not solely with the content provided by social studies. Number 2, inclusion of all content areas to combat restrictive curriculum mandates, especially regarding social studies. As I have mentioned a while ago, the social studies in this book, which is an American-based book or study, actually is restrictive curriculum. And then it could also be applied in the Philippines, because we know that social studies in the Philippines is marginalized subject area. Why? Because, say for example, the government spend much of its budget for scholarship were given to those who took science-related, mathematics-related subject areas or programs in college. Also in high school, we have Philippine Science High School, which is very much focused on English, science, and mathematics. You see, there is few to none programs given by the government and private sectors towards those who took social studies. Okay, even in our scholarship in CHED, okay, there was there was, a hearsay that social studies and Filipino majors are not priority of the CHED Tulong Dunong scholarship. Okay, we're lucky enough that it didn't happen in Philippine Normal University because of some actions done by our scholarship coordinator, and of course by yours truly as the Vice President for External Affairs of the Philippine Normal University Student Government. Number 3, the development of complex thinking processes and requisite critical literacy skills required of a citizen of the world. Okay, if we apply this merging of social studies and language arts and other subject areas, we will be able to create or develop complex thinking of the students, of our future students. As pre-service teachers, it would be best for us to do it, especially in teaching social studies, because students do not, usually, a lot of students don't like to listen to their social studies teacher because of social studies are more on content, and the interest is the style, the way social studies is being taught to students, especially elementary, is very, very, anong tawag dito? Hindi ko maano yung English term. Parang hindi nakakaroon ng interest ang mga estudyante. Okay? So, students don't have interest because of the strategy that teachers have. Try for pre-service teachers or us as would-be social studies teachers, we need to integrate social studies with different subject areas in order to pick the interest of our students to listen and engage themselves in the activities that we will be having in our class. Okay? Ayan. Next. Okay. Rooting literacies. Dito na. Roots of Global Citizen grow from the development of a perspective consciousness, an awakening to multidimensional interpretations of the world by Hanvey of 1982. Actually, the 4 habits of mind and the literacies, the 7 literacies discussed by the previous speaker are under the umbrella, the major idea of perspective consciousness, which is basically multidimensional interpretations of the world. Okay, as you could notice, the four habits of mind deals with how you appreciate, how you see situations in the community where you belong, in the learning environment where you are teaching. Okay, and providing solutions, thinking of solutions, and trying to innovate these solutions. These are actually related to perspective consciousness, how we interpret the events of the world and how we deal with it. Okay? In the absence of this stance, this perspective consciousness, citizens are void of the global awareness needed to take on the role of a justice-oriented citizen. That is according to Wistimmer and Kane of 2004. Okay? So, pre-service teachers should emulate, should embody these 4 habits of mind and the literacies presented by the previous speaker in order for us to develop 21st century learners to become global citizens. Okay? To become agents of change in their communities, as this is the main goal of the authors of this book in conducting their study. All right, so literacies in action for a global citizen. Active and responsible citizens identify and analyze public problems, deliberate with other people about how to define and address issues, take constructive collaborative action, reflect on their actions, create and sustain groups and influence institutions, both large and small. Okay? Within the context of teacher education, the authors have presented ideas for the integration of reframed literacies as supported by the habits of mind of global citizenship. If you could notice, these active, responsible citizens identify and analyze public problems, deliberate with other people. These are actually ideas that are related to the four habits of mind. You know, awakenedness, the principle of awakenedness. You know, you identify, you you are aware, you are conscious of what's going on in your community or in your classroom as a teacher. You know, I mean, you have foreseen problems that might happen in the future, and then you try to broaden your mind to listen to ideas, to look for ideas, to search for information that might help you, and contemplate whether this information that you gained from people and from the internet, from the sources where you search these ideas or information, are applicable or not, or can be successful, and try to decide on it. These or all of these are actually very much related into it, no, related with the four habits of mind. Lastly, the author's ultimate hope is that the manifestation of the essence of a course grounded in the literacies required of a 21st century global citizen inspires their students to be agents of change. As mentioned in the introduction of this chapter and of our discussion of this group, we notice, and I know everybody is, or not everybody perhaps, I know that a lot of us are aware that the global arena for politics and economics is changing. And we need to adapt with it. We need to be competitive. We need to be skilled enough on how to compete with the global arena, with different countries and with different nationalities, with different people. And we as pre-service teachers should emulate this behaviors, these attitudes, these skills, no, the habits of mind, in order for us to develop our students to become one and to be able to compete globally, to solve problems in the community, and to be agents of change. These agents of change is this refers or this change refers to positive change that affects good for the many, no, programs perhaps, advocacies perhaps, that will help alleviate our countrymen from poverty, because that is the basic role of our of us humanities, to care for our self and for our fellow men. Okay, we need to coexist, as mentioned by Apolinario Mabini in the movie Goyo. We cannot just simply achieve peace. We cannot just fight for peace, just like what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. Okay, we cannot just uh, fight for. I mean, we cannot just fight for our sovereignty without thinking of peace. Okay, what our president, you may or you may not agree with me, but what our president is doing is trying to look for a solution in a peaceful way. And we cannot afford to go into war, we cannot afford not to uphold the principle of peace. Okay, and as citizens, we need to have, as a would-be teacher, we need to teach our students to think critically on issues, and do not just settle with one side information. We need to have both sides and try to weigh whether which of them tells us the truth and which of them weighs heavier. All right, so I think that ends my discussion for this afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. And I hope that you've learned a lot from our group with my discussion as well. Thank you, and God bless everyone.